Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
How are you guys?
Doing good.
Looks like we've got me and Tracy in here so far. I've got 2 of the 4 I need.
We are a lively bunch.
Yeah, it's like library quiet in here. Crazy. Somebody sing a song.
Ethan, you're up.
I said someone, not me, someone else.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Anybody got a TikTok dance? My wife is addicted to TikTok, apparently. She's.
Oh, boy.
That is unfortunate.
Huh?
That is unfortunate.
Oh, man.
About this time last year, I had a friend who told me she wasn't going to fill out her census form.
Oh,
You know, I was like, I'm a planning nerd, and I said, well, okay, I'll get a TikTok if you fill out your census form. Then now I've been addicted to TikTok for.
oh, so she filled it out.
boy.
Okay.
Wow.
I could see where you might get hooked on it. I'm trying not to. I'm intentionally staying away from it.
Well,
Facebook.
it's that it gives you little bites of stuff, you know,
Yeah.
so you get that satisfaction of swiping through things real fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do Facebook anymore. Facebook just makes me mad.
Oh.
Let's see, we got Mr. Wonke's on here. That's cool.
Hello.
There's Philip. Hello, Philip.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you? I hadn't seen you in a while.
Well, yeah, that's true. You were out previously and I was out last time.
Yeah, so we're 3 months apart here.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've got Tracy and you and me. That makes 3.
So we need another one, right?
Need one more.
Yeah.
PJ, I'm here. You can count me in.
Oh, hey, Jordan.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's great,
Jordan.
man. It's good to see you.
Philip, good to see you guys.
I might, I might have confused you for one of the city employees. It's only been, what, 2 years since you've been gone? Maybe
Gosh,
3?
PJ, it's been 4, if you can believe it.
Oh, come on, man. It hadn't been 4.
Wow.
4.
God.
I didn't have nearly as much gray hair when I worked for the city.
That's right. And private sector will kill you, man.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So great. It's like we have the gang back together.
That's right.
I'm on the other
Shuffle
side of the
around a
table
little
now.
Yeah, Jordan, jump in there and answer any questions for ADQ if she can't handle it, man.
She can handle twice as much as I can.
That's good.
You know I'm kidding, ADQ. You're the man over there.
Well, you know what? Somebody told me that my initials actually stand for answering dumb questions. So
All right, come on, man. We need somebody. Somebody. Jen's in on this. Jen's usually the first one in. I need Brian, Stewart, or Jen. Myrna, are you in there? I may need to call somebody.
I think I was just talking with me. Brian confirmed, so he just may be running a few minutes late.
Okay.
Well, we could take bets on who it will be. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Everybody's Wednesday going well so far?
Yeah.
So far, just busy, so jumping around.
How's your Wednesday, ADQ?
Same as usual, just filled with meetings and
Yeah.
emails and talking about UDC. It's wonderful. I love it.
Everybody survived the snowmageddon.
Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
issues.
Man, I got lucky. We had some power outages, but I kept my water on and I think the worst we had was about 8 hours of no power. So we got through that okay.
Wow. I did it the easy way. I was out of town and came back afterwards.
There you go.
Oh, gosh.
Were you someplace warmer, Philip?
Florida, so yes. But it was still pretty cold there. It was still pretty cold.
Wow. Yeah, my daughter was in Colorado skiing, and then she came home the day it hit Dallas. She lives in Dallas. And she came home to a dark apartment and no water. And she's a nurse. So, well, the big problem was when she got out of the Uber to get to her apartment, the gate, the way to get into her compound was an electric key.
Oh, no.
And she
Oh,
said,
no.
she said, if I hadn't gotten lucky that someone was just decided to walk their dog at that moment when they walked outside, she said, I would have sat out there for hours just trying to get in. And then
Wow.
she got lucky though. They let her spend the night. She slept for like 3 nights at the hospital. So,
Wow.
I had a friend who did that he works for Scott and White in Temple, and they paid him double time to stay and sleep at the hospital for like a week.
oh, I know. Yeah. My daughter made bank too. She was all excited about that.
Wow.
Sleep and get paid for it. That's awesome.
Yeah. She said, look, I don't have any family in the area. I'm not married. I don't have any pets. She said, put me to work. And I said, you are hired.
That's funny.
Come on, we need somebody. Come on, Brian. You're gonna call Jen. She always shows up. I don't have her number.
We are. We're just reaching out to Jen.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Can't blame traffic.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Man, usually I'm the one that's late. This is crazy.
It looks like Brian just left his doctor's appointment and can be home in about 15 minutes.
ADQ, you keep breaking up. Your volume, your speakers or your microphone is messed up or something.
I think my computer's just tired of listening to me. It's trying to shut me up. No, it looks like Brian just had a doctor appointment that got rescheduled. So he's on his way home now and should be able to log in about 15 minutes. We're trying Jen again, see if we can get a hold of her.
Other Brian or Stuart.
fun plans for spring break?
Spring break. We have a spring break.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. What is that?
I was asked that earlier in the week. I said, I don't know what it is. All my kids are out of school, so it doesn't matter.
Mhm. So are mine.
We
Well,
are
if I'd have
actually,
just stayed in Florida, I was close to Panama City Beach, so.
Man, you're in heaven down there, weren't you?
we are actually taking a little road trip next week. We'll be in that area, kind of Mobile area,
Oh,
Phil.
cool.
Not quite to Florida, but close enough.
You going to Orange Beach?
So we're not going to spend any time in Orange Beach. We're actually going to go up more inland in Alabama and come back through Mississippi.
Okay.
Orange
Yeah, we
Beach.
go to Orange. We go to Orange Beach a lot. That's a great place down there.
I've heard it's great. A lot of our friends go there, but it didn't quite work for this trip. What
Yeah.
we're trying to do.
Mobile is where we stopped. We actually drove back because since all the shelves were gone. So we stopped at Mobile at a Costco and loaded up on water, food items, and everything to help us and deliver to people who needed it. So it was kind of a
Yeah,
mission trip type thing.
good for you. I bet they got some weather too, even in Mobile, didn't they?
There was some storms, but it just got cold more than anything, cold and rainy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister lives in Birmingham. They had like a half inch of snow and it was gone the next day. They were
Oh,
pretty lucky.
pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through Birmingham. That's a place we'll visit, PJ.
Yeah, that's a nice place.
Is it? Any tips?
You know, I haven't really hung out there much. I wish I could tell you. They actually live in a place called Vestavia, which is just outside of Birmingham, but
Okay.
haven't really done Birmingham yet. She's only been there about 2 years, so I haven't been able to get there much.
Okay.
I grew up in Mississippi though, if you pass through Brandon or Jackson.
I think we're gonna go through Jackson. I don't know Brandon, but Jackson I think is on the route.
Cool.
Like Jen's about to log on.
So what do y'all think the record is for waiting for a quorum in a meeting?
I don't know, but this is approaching it. What is it?
I've been in one other meeting where we waited for a long time.
ADQ, your mic went out again.
Is this better?
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that I feel there was one other meeting where that I feel like that we waited a long time because we had some items that we needed to take action on the agenda. But So wonderful committee members. I appreciate all of your time. If I may make a recommendation, I know we both heard back from Brian and Jen saying that that they will be getting on or trying to get on. I don't know if you agree, if you just kind of want to give them a few more minutes, maybe until 4 o'clock. And if they're able to join, then great, we can go ahead and proceed with the meeting, or we can just go ahead and call it good at 4 o'clock and cancel the meeting due to a lack of quorum.
I'm okay. I cleared my schedule for this, so I'll wait as long as we have to. That's just my thoughts.
Great. No, I mean, if everybody can stay, that'll be great. We actually have a short agenda today, so hopefully it won't be a very, once we do get started, it won't be a very long meeting.
Yeah, I'm good too.
I'm good for it.
Thank you. And it looks like we have Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, thank you. Sorry about the delay.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, we have a quorum. Cool. All right, let me get. Everybody ready to go? All right. It is 3:55 on Wednesday, March 10th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Unified Development Code Advisory Committee to order. Let's see. Let's just jump right into the regular session, if that's okay. We've been here a while. Item A, Andrea, you want to discuss on how the UDC Advisory Committee virtual conference will be conducted?
I'll keep it very short, particularly since we don't have any members of the public that have joined us today. But just a reminder, Jordan has able to join us. As some of you may know, Jordan was just appointed as a member to the UDC Advisory Committee as of yesterday, that the City Council approved. So he will be a new member. We have asked him to attend today's meeting to observe the meeting because they still have to, all of our newly appointed members have to go through the training and oath process before they can actually go ahead and start participating, which I believe that has been scheduled for next week. So
Great,
starting in,
Jordan. Sorry, I didn't know that. Congratulations. Glad to
Thanks.
have you
Happy to
on.
be here.
All right.
yeah, so Jordan will now be, we're going to be putting him to work along with all of us on future UDC amendments, and I cannot wait. But if you run into any issues, just very quickly, please, we'll go ahead, give us a call, give Ethan a call or me a call. We'll put our phone numbers on the chat, just so that you have it readily available, so that we know that you dropped off the call and we're able to kind of like pause the meeting before we continue it on. So and that's all I'll say on that.
All right, thank you. All right, item B, we don't have anybody here to speak, so we can dispense with that. So let's get to the legislative regular agenda. Item C, consideration possible action to approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2021 regular meeting of the UDC. Did everybody get a copy and has everybody read it?
I got a copy, but I wasn't there, so I'm gonna hold back on that.
All right, so that leaves Tracy and me and Brian. I've read them. Tracy, you good? Brian, you good?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I second the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Who motioned it? Was that me?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Brian. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, motion carries. Item D, continuation from the February 10th, 2021 meeting, public hearing, possible action on a proposed text amendment to the UDC relating to tree preservation landscape standards, specifically as it pertains to tree preservation, removal and mitigation, street yard gateway and parking landscape standards, and screening and water conservation requirements. Andriana, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. So we'll also keep this item short, and I'll ask my team members here, Ethan and Steve, to just fill in any gaps or adding any additional information that I may have forgotten. But committee members, with the exception of Jordan, who I know that has not been involved up until this point, but we have been talking a lot and working very diligently with your assistance and guidance on amendments to the tree preservation and landscaping standards. And so really what we are asking you today, which is a continuation from the last meeting, is to actually take action and vote on a recommendation that we can move forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council on the proposed amendments that we have been working. As you know, all of these amendments that have been presented to you are really intended to be able to address any conflicts and ambiguity that we found in the code, which was directed to us by the City Council last summer for us to look into and to be able to address. And so since July of last year, we've gone through the process where we've identified issues as well as identified some and recommended terms to be able to address those ambiguities and conflicts as they relate to tree preservation, removal, mitigation, street yard gateways and parking, landscaping requirements, as well as screening and water conservation. So we won't go into details on that very much, but I do want to mention that based from the last meeting, we did revise based on the guidance that you gave us, some of the language to specifically where we're proposing to add that additional sentence where other materials when it comes to synthetic artificial turf may be considered. At the last meeting, it was expressed a concern that we didn't want to limit it necessarily only to the polyethanol or the polypropylene, excuse me on how I stumble with that, but that we want to be able to leave it open enough where we may be able to consider other materials should something in the future come up that may be of a better quality. And then we also clean up this exemption from the tree removal permit in our code to remove the requirement for where homeowners would need to apply for that permit. Other than that, all the wetlands have remained the same as they have been considered and reviewed by the UDC Advisory Committee in the past. No other changes have been proposed. And so this is just a really general overview of the process that identifies all the steps that we have taken. And yesterday at the City Council workshop, we were, as you may recall, we went to them on February 9th to be able to present the recommendations on the amendments that we have been working on. And that we were only able to talk about the first item, the first part, which had to do with tree preservation, removal, and mitigation. No changes were proposed to our recommended changes and our proposed amendments to those particular issues and topics. However, the city council did identify 2 items for us to be able to consider in looking into as a potential amendment as well to the code. That the second portion of that presentation, which had to do with the street yard gateway parkings, as well as the screening and the water conservation efforts, was something that was pushed to a future city council meeting, city council workshop meeting, I should say. And we were supposed to go over that yesterday. However, due to time constraint, that item was pushed again. And so right now we plan and anticipate being able to go to the March 23rd City Council workshop item to finish that presentation, go over the missing items, and then really be able to ask City Council for some feedback and direction on whether or not the 2 new items, if this is something that they want us to consider and include as part of this amendment process, or if it is something that they want us to consider in the future. As part of that conversation, we do hope to be able to present to them 2 options in terms of next steps. The first option is for us to continue with what we have been working and complete what we have been working with so far. So that hopefully will include us being able to take an ordinance to the city council in the April timeframe that includes the red lines and the amendments that we have worked up until today. And then potentially come back to them in the future with on the 2 new specific items where we would be working through these next few months on vetting through those new issues and then coming back to them with a second ordinance sometime in the summer timeframe for only those 2 items. The other option that we want to discuss with city council is to essentially hold off on what we have been working on so far, work through the vetting process and coming up with language on the 2 new issues, and then come back to them, everything combined under 1 ordinance that includes the entirety of the amendment. And so hopefully we'll get that direction from city council on March 23rd to see which of the 2 options they wish us to proceed with. So again, option 1 would be doing 2 ordinances, one that reflects the red lines that we have worked on today, and then a second ordinance later in the summer that reflects the 2 new items. And again, those 2 new items pertain to the 2 new consideration of allowing smaller trees for credit trees, and as well as exploring the option of allowing trees planted on residential lots as on-site replacement trees. Or the second option would be is that we only come back to you with one ordinance, and that would be in the summer. Does that make sense? Is that clear as mud? And so, but what we ask of you today is that because both of those options we can do whether you make a recommendation today or not on the red lines that we have worked on today, because those 2 new items that City Council identified will not impact those red lines. It would just require us having to include additional requirements or standards into the UDC and will not change necessarily the red lines that we have worked on today. Although even if it does trigger a change, we can always come back with new amendments. But we do ask you to still take action today on the red lines that we have worked so far, make a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council so that hopefully this will not further the amendment process longer than it needs to be. And we can, in the event, which is what we anticipate, that at the March 23rd City Council workshop, City Council says, yes, proceed and move forward because we have no concern with the amendments, we can do that. And then we can come back if we need to. And so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And you may have mentioned this early on, but I maybe had glossed over it, but was the reason I want to say postponed to this meeting was that the council never got through the whole workshop to discuss all of the issues. And we were going to wait for this meeting to find out if they had any comments on whatever those were that they didn't cover, right?
Correct. Okay. Yes, that is correct.
So are you saying that those issues were then covered? Well, what issues were those? Are those the 2 issues that you're talking about?
No, sir. So what we have not covered with City Council yet are the issues that we identified that specifically pertain to street yards, gateway, and parking, screening, and water conservation. The only issues that we've discussed with City Council up to this point were the issues related to the tree preservation, removal, and mitigation.
Okay, so when you're talking about our two options for today, that would be to vote on approving the red lines that we did on tree preservation, removal, and mitigation. And go ahead.
And the street yards, parking, screening, and water conservation. So to take an action on all the red lines.
On all of the red lines. And so I guess they never have covered it then. Is that correct? Or did they ever cover? Did they come back with comments on the street yards, gateway, and parking and screening?
No, because we have not had a chance to discuss those with
Right.
them.
Okay. So they still haven't done that, which is the reason we postponed it till today anyway. So we're kind of in the same scenario that we were before on that.
Yes.
And so the options again, just to, if I can summarize, were to vote on approving all of the red lines for the whole thing. And those would include options one, or consider smaller trees and trees planted in the residential lots.
No, it would not include, let me clarify, it would not include those two options because or I should say not on those two options, but on those two specific issues, because these are two new issues that the City Council has identified.
So we wouldn't be
So-
voting on those at all today.
Correct, we would not be looking on those at all today. So once we are able to, we are going to be asking City Council direction on these two new items. Do you want us to work on those now and include them in the red lines that you're going to be voting on now? Or do you want us to finish the red lines that we have been working now and then come back later on only these two new items? So we're still going to come back to you in the future to work on these two new items. The question is, are we not going to take action on the red lines that we have today until these two items have been vetted and worked through? Or can we take action on the red lines today and then take action later on the two new items?
Okay.
So if we take action today on these two, and then, these are recommendations to P and Z and recommendations to council from them. Council can go ahead and make changes at that time when it's up for approval with City Council, right?
So let me see, hang on, bear with me 1 second here. I'm gonna unhide some slides and then reshare. Okay. So can everybody see a gray table? Okay.
Yes.
So what we, as you may recall, in the past few months, we identified specific issues that related to tree preservation, removal, and mitigation. So it related to all of these items, right? We say, how do you measure DBH? What do we consider to be a cedar tree? How do we actually determine what the boundary is for surveying the trees and using them for mitigation and calculation? The tree inventory options. How can we do additional, how can we provide additional tree mitigation options? And then we had that for tree preservation, removal, and mitigation. We also identified issues that had to do with artificial turf and how do we determine the applicability of the gateway landscape standards, and when are landscape requirements actually applicable to the inventory lots of auto sales. And then we had identified issues that related to, we need to clarify what the screening requirements are for the alternative waste containers. And we needed to be able to incorporate additional standards to incentivize our water conservation efforts. So on all, these are the issues that we specifically worked on and that we drafted red lines for, okay? At the City Council workshop on February 9th, we were only able to talk to the City Council only on the issues. So on this is specifically related to tree preservation, removal, and mitigation. Okay. The other issues that had to do with street yards and gateways and parking and the screening and the water conservation, we did not get to talk to city council about those items because we ran out of time. And those are the items that they said we'll continue that conversation in the future. As we were talking about the tree preservation, removal, and mitigation, that is when city council came back and said, hey, the things that you're working on, we don't have any objections or comments or concerns or any proposed changes. However, have you considered and can you consider these two additional items? So in addition to everything, all the other items that you've already reviewed and looked at, can you consider these two additional items? And that's kind of like where the conversation ended. Our intent is to come back to the city council and finish that presentation. So we're not going to go back to city council to talk about tree preservation, removal, and mitigation, or to talk to them about these two items specifically. We're only going to come back to them to talk about the items that we have not gone over, which are the items related to street yard, gateways, and parking, and so forth. And then we're also going to ask city council and saying, there's a whole bunch of red lines that we have already worked on and drafted on. And so we want to ask you, can we take action on those items now? When I say we, I mean City Council, can we bring you an ordinance that includes the red lines that we have already drafted for you to take action and get it adopted now? Or do you want to hold up adoption of those red lines to give us time to work on and vet through the two new items that you've identified so that we can include them in those red lines and come back to you in the summer to vote on one ordinance that adopts the whole everything? Or, so those are the two options that we're going to be asking City Council. And so because no changes have been presented to the red lines that we have worked on so far, mind you, there's still this half that we need to go through with City Council, but we don't anticipate that changes may occur because there are a lot of very clean up standard items. Is that
When you say that, you're talking about the street yard, gateway, and parking? Okay.
correct? And so what we ask the UDC is, what we're asking the UDC is to make a recommendation on the red lines that we do have right now that include street yard, gateways, and parking, so that we can move forward that recommendation with the understanding that we will come back to you later in the future to talk about these two new items, which may be incorporated into this red lines, or it may be worked as a standalone red line.
Okay, so I understand that, but what if they come back after they look at the street yard, gateway, parking, and screening and say, well, we have issues, and that's the reason we postponed it in the first place, is if we wanted to see if they had any issues with any of these and made any changes that we could vet it again, and before we approved it.
Yes.
And so where would we be able to do that with street yards, gateway, and parking?
We will still be able to do that, because what we'll do is that we will come back to you. So let's say if on March 23rd, they said, no, you need to be able to make some changes to this, we will come back to you in April and let you and inform that and let you know that. And we will let you know, City Council has, identified these concerns. They would like us to address these concerns, and we will just go through that process. It doesn't.
All right, so we would get an opportunity to comment on their comments.
Yes,
For
absolutely.
street yards, gateway, parking, and screening.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, that would be my biggest concern, because I just want to make sure that's the whole reason we postponed in the first place, was to have that opportunity. And I don't want to miss that again. So I hear what you're saying. It's kind of crazy, but okay. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So-
Any other?
Oh, is that your presentation?
That is the presentation, sir.
Okay.
And unless there's something else that we need to recap or go, we're here to help you and support you. So if there's anything else that we need to go over or discuss, happy to do so.
All right, I'll entertain any questions from the gallery here.
Hey, this is Brian. Thanks, Andrea. You answered all the questions I had. It seems to me we're in the same position we were last month. We didn't want to get ahead of council, so we postponed our deliberations. And it seems that we are in the same boat because they didn't get a chance to provide input on those subjects. Unless there's an outlying impact on us postponing those subjects again, that would be my recommendation, to postponed, but with the stipulation of letting, possibly through staff, the council know that we're doing that. In other words, if they go next month and they get short of time again and they punt it again, I would like them to know that the impact is we're sitting around waiting on them for now the second month without doing our business, and they may not know that. So that's something I think that maybe would help to try to get them to make decisions or recommendations, what have you. On the tree issue, I would like to hear from who I call the king of trees and have him be able to weigh in and give us his great wisdom and guidance on what he thinks about those proposals, so then we can discuss it and make decisions. So I don't think he's had a chance to do that. So I wouldn't think that we would want to do that today.
And Andre, can I ask a question on kind of in light of what Brian just said? Is it possible for us to vote on approving the tree portion of this and not the other portion?
I mean, yes, if you wanna, if you wanna
We've
take
always-
action.
We've all vetted the tree portion pretty well. I mean, Brian, I hear what you're saying. We haven't, I guess, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the forest. Not Egan.
He's called the king of trees.
King of.
Steve McEwen?
That is his
Thank you. I almost said Kimberly, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, has McEwen looked at these? I mean, he's vetted these pretty well, correct?
Absolutely, but I'll certainly let him talk.
No, I mean, I don't want to keep putting this off either, because y'all got to get some work done over there and get these things finalized. But I'm just seeing if there's a way to vote on a portion of this and at least get you moving down the road on that, and then we can come back.
I have a question and kind of in concert with that is there a downside? So my understanding of what you're stating and asking us to do is if we vote to approve the items that we've worked on today, again, that's a recommendation to P&Z and then City Council. And so if City Council has comments on the section they haven't reviewed yet, then there's a good chance, I mean, they can always just circumvent everything and make the changes and go, or they could send it back to us to review those items, correct?
Correct.
So yeah, I don't know that, my feeling is, and I didn't get the whole conversation last time since I wasn't here, but I don't know that we should have to wait for council's input on the pieces. We go ahead and make our recommendation that we feel that we've vetted so far. Then if they have any changes, that will just push it back in the process possibly. So I think we have a chance of holding this up even longer by not voting on it now than if we did.
Yes, and so if I may, I'm gonna try and answer all the questions that have been brought up into the attention. So to start it off with, in terms of our keynote trees and vetting through the process, absolutely. I mean, Steve has been involved since day one, and we've all been working as a team in being able to identify, the best possible recommendations that we can move forward and work through and vet through as part of this overall process. And so the red lines that we have drafted up until today include the review of all of us, inclusive of any public comments that we did receive in relation to these red lines. In terms of, yes, we can always come back and be able to make a recommendation. The downside or what we lose by pushing the item back is that we keep, a lot of these red lines include, as we mentioned, conflicts and administrative legal cleanups that needed to occur in the UDC because we have identified those. And so by us pushing these amendments further out, it just means that we continue to work as we have been operating to today, which is trying to, work through the interpretations and work through the review of these development applications as we figure out and work through a lot of the conflicts that we have been experiencing. And we continue with the current process that we have today, where a lot of applicants may just have to continue to apply for those administrative exceptions to propose an alternative building this landscape design, as opposed to just being able to use an option that we're recommending to be included in the UDC today without having to go through that process. So it's just a matter of delaying the process. a little bit further and us continuing to work with the operations and the standards that we have today. That's also kind of like in line as to what goes on if, if city council decides to hold off taking action on the red lines until the new items are worked through or not, or if they take action on two ordinances at two different dates, because sometimes, that just doesn't, when you amend multiple ordinance so constantly, it just doesn't provide with a lot of predictability and assurances when people are coming in with their project and wanting to know, well, what code am I actually under? And so there's pros and cons for each of the process, but absolutely, we can always come if, for whatever reason, city council decides or, gives us direction that requires us to have to change something, we can always come back to, and we will always come back to the UDC Advisory Committee to vet through those changes and
Yes, we've vetted these pretty well now for a couple different months, and I hate to put this off again because we need to get these finalized for a lot of different reasons. But I don't know. I guess I'm personally comfortable with approving what we have redlined, and then with the understanding that they're going to come back to us with any comments on stuff that we've talked about. I mean, I guess that would be the simple way to put it, right? Is that fair, ADQ?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, city council can also just, before working the ordinance, absolutely. Any comments that they come back to us, they can say, well, no, we need you to work this out with the UDC Advisory Committee
All right.
before you come back to us.
Any comments?
Can you clarify, Adriana, that our tree expert has or has not seen the two new points from council?
I think Steve's on here, right? Are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, there he is. I didn't see the name.
You didn't see King of Trees on there is the problem.
Brian, I'm asking your opinion or assessment of those points.
Well, I think we've already addressed one of them. ADQ, can you go to those 2 points?
So,
Go to that slide. But we've already heard the second item, and we've already talked about that in past sessions, about how it wasn't a good idea, it wasn't a preferred idea, it wasn't an enforceable option that the city had to well, the city just doesn't have any means of enforcing saving trees on a residential lot. So we've kind of already discussed that second option. The first one with trees smaller than 6 inches, that I need to go back and check my notes when I looked at other cities and as far as what they lumped sizes into for categories of their own code, to see if this is in line with other cities. I mean, we currently have the 6 to 11 inch for credit trees when it comes to satisfying landscape requirements on projects, but we don't allow that size. We don't allow a size smaller than that towards any kind of mitigation whatsoever. So this would be opening up a whole new option for reducing mitigation, or well, in some cases, reducing mitigation cost on projects.
Are there reasons why we don't currently allow below 6 inches?
To my knowledge, there isn't a specific reason for it. I think right now the biggest thing about not including anything smaller than 6 inches is, you can get some pretty small trees in this general size range, and then that just makes it harder for some projects, it has the implication of making it harder to like avoid these trees with construction and things like that. So the only thing I can think of is that before in the past, it might have been recommended that we don't count anything this small. That way on a development level, they don't have to worry about these trees. But that's just me taking a guess as far as why we haven't considered them in the past.
Well, there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know that we want to get into the whole discussion now because it'll come up later, but you know, when you get into 6, if you just say anything less than 6, I mean, really, do you really mean less than 6, which would be a 1/4 inch sapling that you can't even tell what it is?
Yeah, and then you're having to survey those. You're having to
Yeah.
identify those on plans.
I mean,
So
it's, in realistic terms, that's kind of overwhelming to, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of smaller little 1/4 inch saplings. And anyway, I don't know if we want to do that now, but that's part of the problem that would come up.
yeah,
And these 2 items are not included in what we would vote on, correct?
That is correct.
Well, I consider this, Brian, again, I thought it was 2 different considerations. One, do we vote on the street yards, gateway and parking? And the other is, do we do the smaller trees and the other? I thought they were both on the table. And I wouldn't want to do the tree thing without hearing Steve's input, which he's given. On the other thing, I don't have a problem either way. If we feel that we've talked about it enough, then I don't have a problem making a decision now and having council come back.
Yeah, and remember, Brian, that it's, as it states in the bullet there, it says we're only 2 new items for consideration. It does not, we're not approving it. It's an item for consideration.
Oh, no, I understood the consideration. I don't like to make up what I think about something until I hear the expert, what he thinks about it. And then I can
I totally agree with that.
agree or disagree.
Yeah, no, Steve should definitely be involved in that big time. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Well, I think I'd like to make a motion if you're ready.
go for it.
I'd just like, and without any specifics, just a motion to accept all the red lines under this section, these 2 sections. And approve.
Is that specific enough, Andrea?
So just to clarify, or maybe this is the way we're talking about the red lines that have been drafted and attached to the agenda packet as of today.
Correct.
So, Philip, you're okay with that slight modification to your motion?
I am.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is
I
Brian.
second it.
I heard them both at the same time, so take your pick, Brian or Tracy. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No further discussion? Then we will vote. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No opposed? Unanimous, passed unanimous.
So if I may, just to clarify, since we do have 2 members without a camera, I want to make sure Brian and Jen, is there, just to confirm your vote is in favor?
Yes.
Jen said she's having some problems. I saw on the chat. Jen, can you send us a chat, yes or no? She said she needs help unmuting.
Looks like she may still be having technical difficulties.
I don't know. I'm not sure what we do in this case. She's on. Is she still showing up as me? Yeah, she's still showing up as being on in the meeting. Jen, can you call in and call either Ethan or ADQ's phone number?
I apologize. I walked away
Oh,
and now I'm back. And I feel like we're having a discussion about me.
you are. We are.
All right, let's clue me into it. I'm so sorry. Sometimes you just got to go to the bathroom and run away, and I did not realize. What do we need?
We had a motion to approve both of the, I don't know how to phrase this, but put that screen back up if you would, ADQ, the both of the red lines that were done to the tree mitigation and the red lines that were done to the,
So it's the red lines that were done to the tree preservation removal and mitigation, not including the 2 new items that City Council have identified for consideration. And it's the red lines related to street yard, gateway, parking, screening, and water conservation.
so, and we had a motion and we had a second. We had no further discussion unless you have some.
No, I am for that.
Okay, well, we all voted yay, so we're waiting on your yay or nay.
I will go with yay.
Hey, okay, all right, we have, now it's unanimous.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry.
that's all right. It's another Zoom tragedy here, you know, it's like.
True.
Right.
at least
You know,
turned
it's
the mic
just so
off.
easy to walk away.
Yeah. All right, so that is all I think we have, right? Except item E, you
just-
want to give an update on the UDC amendment process going forward?
Yeah, so just a very quick update to everybody. So the only remaining items, as you may recall from the general amendment list that was approved by the City Council and directed to us last summer, include 3 remaining items. One of them had to do with digital signage. The other one has to do with the definitions of our group homes. And then the third one has to do with making sure that our street cross sections are in line with our fire code requirements. And so on the digital signage, we are going to start doing some additional research because we do have some people that are interested in wanting for us to start allowing digital sign within our city, within our jurisdiction. And so we're going to start doing some research and bring you some of that information and to start obtaining your direction and feedback in terms of what do we need to address, what are some of the concerns that we need to make sure that we incorporate, should we go ahead and consider in allowing digital sign within our jurisdiction. So start thinking about that. In terms of the group homes, we are finished finalizing, we need to finish first finalizing and getting some direction from our legal department to really be able to get an idea as to how the best way of being able to address our group home definitions in the UDC. And this is really just more to make sure that our definitions are not in conflict with any federal standards in terms of the Fair Housing Act. But then on the third item, before we bring it back to you, we're continuing having conversations with our fire department to better understand what the options are in terms of street cross section, specifically as it relates to being able to be allowed to have parking on both sides of the street. As some of you may recall, back in 2017, I know this is probably fresh in Jordan's mind because he worked on that ordinance. So it's great that he's back with us. Is that, we, in working in partnership with the fire department, we adopted several street cross sections, and we adopted different pavement widths depending on whether or not that street is going to be allowed to have parking on one side of the road, no parking, or allow parking on 2 sides of the road. And so there is a bit of a conflict with the fire code because, as I understand, the fire code talks about the width of pavement width. And so that's something that we're looking into in getting further clarification from the fire department before we actually determine what exactly needs to be cleaned up in the UDC, if anything at all, before we move that forward to you. So that's kind of like what's going on behind the scenes, if you will. But those are some items. I think the biggest topic that we're just going to have in discussion is really going to be in relation to that digital signage to see how we're going to be moving forward with possible amendments to the UDC related to that. Other than that, we don't really have any plan on right now at this point to do another big general amendment list, if you will, like we've done in the past. The department really wants to be able to do a UDC diagnostic following the adoption of our 2030 plan update from last year. And so we're working through the budget process to see how we can get that UDC diagnostic in, but should that be approved, that's something that we do hope that the UDC Advisory Committee, and it will definitely be involved to help us out through that process and really identify what sections in the UDC we need to address so that we continue to make sure that we are in compliance with our comprehensive plan. And that's all the update that I have so far.
Hey, can you answer, is there any, I asked this in another meeting, some of y'all may have heard this before, but I was wondering if there's any push by the Texas legislature to fix the shot clock rule. Was there any wording on that?
So I have, I heard that that may come up, that may be presented. I have not seen any legislation being introduced yet that addresses that specific issue, but we do have our eye out to see if that's actually something that's going to be addressed. We hope that it will be addressed, but we have not. I know certainly I have not heard anything definitive yet.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, and Jordan, who is Jordan replacing?
Stuart came off the UDC Advisory Committee.
Okay, well, I guess I'm always the last to know, so.
I apologize, PJ. I will try. We will definitely do our best to help you keep better informed as our chair of the
Jordan,
committee.
we are so pleased to have you back, and
I'm glad to be a part of it. It'll be fun.
It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it.
And when does he start? Which meeting?
So it should be actually the next meeting, April.
Okay, cool. All right, well, that sounds good. Anybody have any other last parting comments? If not, then I appreciate it. I'll call the meeting to a close. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Bye now.
Bye.
Have a good day.